Spain's new golden generation is here. For over a decade, Spain was the team every nation feared. Between 2008 and 2012, La Roja achieved something that had never been done before. They won back-to-back UEFA European Championships and lifted the 2010 FIFA World Cup, becoming the first men's national team to win 3 consecutive major international tournaments, led by icons like Iker Casillas, Xavi Hernandez, Andres Iniesta, Sergio Busquets, Xabi Alonso, Gerard Piqué, and David Villa. Spain didn't simply dominate football, they changed the way it was played. Possession became their greatest weapon, patience became their identity, and the famous tiki-taka philosophy inspired clubs and countries across the globe. But football never stands still. As the legends retired, Spain slowly lost its identity. Their early exit at the 2014 World Cup shocked the football world. Another disappointing campaign followed at Euro 2016 before they were knocked out on penalties by host nation Russia at the 2018 World Cup. Even though talented players continued to emerge, something was missing. The effortless dominance that once defined Spanish football had disappeared, leaving supporters wondering whether another golden generation would ever arrive. For years, that question remained unanswered. Then, almost without anyone realizing it, Spain began rebuilding. Instead of chasing another Xavi or another Iniesta, they invested in developing an entirely new kind of team, one that respected Spain's technical identity but embraced the speed, athleticism, and intensity of modern football. Today, that rebuild appears complete. A group of fearless young stars has arrived, many of them barely old enough to legally drive in some countries, yet already performing on football's biggest stages. The names are becoming familiar around the world. Lamine Yamal, Pedri, Gavi, Nico Williams, Pau Cubarsí, Dean Huijsen, Martin Zubimendi. Together, they aren't simply Spain's future, they may already be Spain's present. The question now isn't whether Spain has another talented generation. The question is whether this group can become even greater than the one that changed football forever. Every great football dynasty eventually reaches its end. Their squad was filled with players in their prime. Barcelona and Real Madrid remained among the strongest clubs in Europe, and the country's youth academies continued producing technically gifted footballers at an extraordinary rate. But success often creates its own problems. The same core of players that had delivered unprecedented glory was growing older together. Xavi was no longer capable of controlling matches the way he once had. Andres Iniesta remained brilliant, but injuries became more frequent. David Villa, Carles Puyol, Fernando Torres, and several other key figures were approaching the final years of their careers. Then came Brazil, 2014. Spain entered the World Cup as defending champions and one of the tournament favorites. Instead, they suffered one of the most shocking collapses in football history. A humiliating 5-1 defeat against the Netherlands was followed by another loss to Chile, eliminating them before the knockout stages had even begun. It wasn't simply a bad tournament, it marked the end of an era. Opponents had finally discovered how to counter Spain's possession-heavy style. Teams pressed more aggressively, defended with greater discipline, and attacked with speed whenever possession was won. The football world had adapted while Spain struggled to evolve. Over the following years, flashes of brilliance remained, but consistency disappeared. Spain reached the round of 16 at Euro 2016, lost another dramatic penalty shootout to Russia at the 2018 World Cup, and fell short again at Euro 2020, despite playing attractive football. For the first time in nearly 15 years, Spain no longer entered tournaments as favorites. Many wondered whether the country's greatest footballing days were already behind them. Fortunately for Spain, the next generation was quietly preparing to prove everyone wrong. Every generation of Spanish football has produced technically gifted players. What separates this team from those that came before isn't just talent, it's evolution. For years, Spain's identity was built almost entirely around possession. They would patiently circulate the ball, waiting for the perfect opening before attacking. At their peak, it was virtually impossible to stop, and often accepted defeat before the final whistle. Eventually, however, the football world adapted. Teams became more physically demanding, transitions became faster, and pressing systems grew increasingly sophisticated. Holding the ball for long periods was no longer enough. Modern football required teams to be able to attack at speed, defend aggressively, and adapt to different opponents throughout a match. Spain understood that better than most. Instead of abandoning their footballing philosophy, they modernized it. The current national team still values possession, but only when it serves a purpose. Midfielders move the ball forward more quickly, wingers attack defenders one-on-one without hesitation, and full-backs provide width to stretch defensive lines. Rather than dominating games through endless passing, Spain now dominates through intelligent movement, relentless pressing, and vertical attacking football. That evolution makes them far more unpredictable. One moment, they'll patiently recycle possession across the back line, inviting opponents forward. The next, Pedri will split the defense with a perfectly weighted pass. Yamal will glide past two defenders, and Nico will be sprinting into open space before the opposition has time to react. Few international teams possess that level of flexibility. Another major advantage is experience. Although many of Spain's biggest names are still remarkably young, they've already played in Champions League knockout matches, domestic title races, European championships, and high-pressure international fixtures. Lamine Yamal has performed in front of millions while still in his teenage years. Pedri has already become one of Barcelona's most important players. Gavi has faced some of the world's best midfielders. Nico has delivered on football's biggest stages. Pressure is no longer something they're learning to handle. It's something they've already embraced. Perhaps that's what makes this generation so exciting. They're not simply talented prospects with potential. They're already winning. Spain's triumph at UEFA Euro 2024 wasn't viewed as a lucky tournament or an unexpected success. It felt like the first major statement from a team that could dominate international football for years to come. More importantly, they achieved it while fielding one of the youngest squads in the competition. That should concern every rival nation, because if this team is already capable of winning major tournaments, there's every reason to believe their best football still lies ahead. Football history tells us that golden generations don't arrive overnight. They grow together, they learn together, they lose together, and eventually, they begin winning together. Everything suggests Spain has already reached that final stage. Football is built on cycles. Every dominant team eventually declines, making way for another generation determined to create its own legacy. Spain experienced that reality after the unforgettable success of 2008 to 2012. For years, supporters searched for signs that another great team was emerging, wondering if they would ever witness a group capable of reaching those extraordinary heights again. Today, they no longer have to wonder. With Lamine Yamal dazzling defenders, Pedri controlling midfield, Gavi providing relentless intensity, Nico stretching every defense, and a new wave of talented defenders and midfielders growing together, Spain possesses something few nations ever achieve: a genuine golden generation. Whether this team wins one major trophy or several will ultimately determine how history remembers them. Comparisons with the legendary side of Xavi, Iniesta, Casillas, and Busquets are inevitable, but perhaps they're also unfair. That team changed football forever. This generation doesn't need to copy them. It only needs to write its own story, and judging by what we've already seen, that story is only just beginning.